but it'll take a second.
You give me the thumbs up? All right, it is 6:30. We'll call our committee of the whole meeting to order, and let's jump into, we have T-Mobile, a temporary, kind of a unique thing with the request for a temporary cell tower on city-owned property at 4101 Lake Michigan Drive. And the why behind that, as Frank is getting set up there, is ITC is upgrading one of the towers in the area that has T-Mobile antenna on it, T-Mobile's antenna on it, and they're going to a monopole type of tower, and while that's down, T-Mobile would be without service in the area. So this is an interim fix that kind of came up out of the blue, is my understanding as I was briefed on this. So it's teed up for you at this point.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everybody. We have Wally here from T-Mobile. So questions will be directed to Wally as far as specifics, but let me give you a little bit more background. The mayor already set it up well with, this is Lake Michigan Drive, and here's Manzana, and the trail tunnel is right here, and the property that is a long rectangle is owned by consumers. ITC owns the infrastructure that the wires go on, and they're going to be replacing all of the metal and wooden poles through here. And it just so happens that T-Mobile has an antenna array on this tower. And they're going to need to find a temporary, and I'll let Wally talk about temporary, home for their signals until they can hopefully land again, from what I understood, right in this location, or maybe on the tower that's right here. Oops, excuse me, right here. So this is Kinney, Lake Michigan Drive, Fire Station 2, and then right here is a piece of property that is city-owned. The city owns to the creek. And what you have in front of you tonight is a request for a license agreement to temporarily, up to 6 months, place a temporary tower, cell tower, within this area by license. So the agreement that you have in your packet was generated by T-Mobile, went to the city attorney redlined it. T-Mobile has agreed to the red lines, so we have a license agreement that's good. There are two exhibits that go along with this, Exhibit A and Exhibit B. And we received late in the day today clarification on the premises. The city attorney said Exhibit A needs to be very specific for what area they're talking about here. And then Exhibit B needs to show what the tower is going to look like. So, we had one of these in front of Fields Fabrics probably 5 years ago. And it was a similar situation where they had an outage at that main run of wires and towers adjacent to the tunnel. So we've had one of these before in Standale. It wasn't an issue. I don't think anybody even really knew it was there, to be honest. This one is a 75-foot monopole on a trailer, powered by a generator, fenced in, secured with the wires. Wally's the expert in that. And it is a license agreement, so there would be a payment to the city for the number of months that it is there. So, I'll let Wally fill in the blanks, but it comes down to, in your ordinance, and I know this probably is electrical, but if you look in your tower ordinance, it says two things that are important. 94-355E permitted uses. Antennas and towers located on property owned, leased, or otherwise controlled by the city, provided that a license or lease authorizing the antenna or tower has been approved by the city. So that's the function for tonight. And then if you're saying, well, the Standale Downtown District says that you need a special exception use, the last portion of this code is conflict points that says, except as provided, any conflict with this regulation, provisions of this section shall control. So like all the time, when things come in, even on city property, we want to make sure that it's code consistent. So we ran that past the city
Thank you, everybody, Mayor and Commission. My name's Wally Haley. I don't work for T-Mobile. We're Haley Law Firm. We do a lot of this kind of work for T-Mobile. And in this particular case, we're obviously scrambling. It was necessitated because the right hand didn't know what the left hand was doing, to be honest with you. It was consumers sent the notices and stuff to the T-Mobile headquarters, and somehow it never filtered back to the field. So I, first of all, want to thank Frank from TJ from my office, who can't be here tonight, so I'm like the late substitution. Normally I would be here dressing a lot more like the folks up here, but tonight you're stuck with me as is. But TJ put together this, met with Frank. Frank's been awesome. Understood the problem, understood the time constraints, understood how important it would be to make sure that we kept service, to those customers, especially as we all sit here with our masks and our COVID-19 and people working from home, going to school at home, all that stuff. It's even more critical right now. So I want to give huge kudos to Frank from what TJ has told me. So he was awesome. If you have any specific questions about this, it's in the industry they call them cows, cell on wheels. The tower he talked about as being a monopole actually is on a riser that goes up into the air 75 feet, and it's brought on the site with a trailer. Generator is there, and then they'll actually have to bring a signal for backhaul for fiber to bring the data and stuff in there. But that'll be very transparent to you folks as a landlord. If you have any specific questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
So I think one of the things, I'll turn over to Commission, but my understanding was this also affects 911 service for T-Mobile clients.
Absolutely true.
So in effect, that's part of the fire drill, so to speak, as we've all referred to it as last minute. It was missed at a corporate headquarters. It's gotten back to us, so we're quick trying to fix this, but the sense of urgency is that ITC is doing their tower upgrades like 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out, I believe it is.
Less than that from what we now understand.
Okay,
so yes.
Yep, so I want to give a little bit of a background for the commission on that. So with that being said, Commissioner Gilbert, you have a question?
Yeah, no, I understand the purpose, and I think it makes sense. I'm just out of curiosity, and this might be a frank question. Have we gotten the tower, the fall geometry drawings and things like that we typically would get with cell towers? Just out of curiosity. I know it's a little bit different with this, just because it's like mobile tower, but I know typically when we put in the installed towers, that's been part of the submissions.
And I'll let Wally talk to this, but our first question was how tall is the tower? Because that's how big of a box you can draw. So the box may look a little bit large here, but it's to keep the tower within that area.
Yep.
So it does have like a clear zone fall within the licensed area. You can see it maybe a little bit better. I emailed this to you guys right about 5 o'clock.
Got it.
When we received it. So if you look at this area, to the north, these woods and the underground storm sewers. To the west, same. South, there's that drive that gets back to that old Frank's carving place. And then the east is the service drive that gets around where the old bus stop is.
Okay.
But to answer the question, we drew this box to make sure that the tower's going to fall within.
Perfect. Thank you.
If it falls, hopefully it should not fall, right? But just in case.
And there's no clearing that's taken place of trees or brush, what have you. It's going into that open spot right next to the driveway that's not even being used right now.
And there are two big storm sewer pumps that go underneath. You can see where they go underground. So it's a large area of very roughly maintained grass, for lack of a better term. This is a service drive, so it kind of fits right in that vacant space. The other option was to go in the parking lot itself, because really that's not being used since the labor line has shifted. But I think overall, this is a better spot for it, just remote from the
Commissioners, other questions, comments? Seems like everybody understands it a bit. Commissioner Kent?
Yeah, I understand it, and sounds like you're gonna have it up in about 2 weeks, and so for them to get their work done and everything, and it's a 6-month agreement, is that window that it'll be completed actually in 4 months or less, or what's your guess on it? Or?
It's an educated guess, to be honest with you. The leading candidate right now to fix this is to co-locate on an existing monopole tower owned by Crown Castle, to literally almost next to where the cow would be going. There are it's a slower process. It's an application process. They'll try to shortcut that as best they can, but allotting no more than 6 months is probably the best way to go.
So that's gonna be workable for you for the project. There won't, I guess what I'm saying,
Extension?
won't be any extensions coming, or?
Highly unlikely. I mean, I never say never in this industry, because you never know what's, if something happened that they were told to stand down on construction because of health, pandemic, whatever the case. So, but in general, I feel pretty comfortable that no more than 6 months.
Okay, thank you.
And I think in reviewing the contract, it's a great question. There's no evergreen clause in there that it automatically renews, so we didn't have to deal with that.
Question. And maybe this information was in something that was sent, but I may have missed it. But is this fenced in? How are you going to keep, how do you keep the kids from messing around there?
Usually they just put up like a snow fence, like an
Okay.
orange snow fence around it. Depending upon, that's subject to kind of what you guys would want too on that one. But normally, the easiest way to do it is just put the orange snow fence around it, and that seems to work. They don't seem to be too attractive to nuisance type activities. So that seems to have worked. And we do these all the time at special events where there's fairs, football games, U of M right off the stadium. So it's when we have done that, most of the time I recall maybe one time it being fenced with more of a chain link fence, but in general, the vast majority of them were like a snow fence around it.
Okay, thank you.
Part of the plan, it says temporary chain link fence.
Yeah.
So that's Exhibit B, so that's what we'll expect to go on.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, I have not seen this drawing.
We really just got it verified, so I just can't have too much, and it's not a monopole, it's a telescopic lattice tower.
Yes.
So it's not one piece, it looks like one of those, like a curtain rod kind of thing.
It would be like your TV vans you see that put the antennas up, and your television vans that come in, just on steroids, bigger and goes higher.
You said it's run by a generator?
That's how it's powered, yes.
So is there a concern for noise there? I think we're kind of close to some houses. How far are we from residents there? Okay.
Yeah, and the ones they use on the cows are not like the big industrial ones.
Okay.
You typically, they're fairly quiet. We've been asked about that, like in Ann Arbor, they were very sensitive to that when we did the cows down there. They were fine with it.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments? I'm assuming Wally drove over here from the other side of the state, so do we have, I know we'll take this up as an action item at the 7 o'clock meeting. Is there any concerns we have for approval on this at 7 o'clock? Looking around the horn, nothing to my right, nothing to the left. Counselor, I think we are good. Thank you for making the trip over.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
Appreciate it, and we'll do our formal vote at 7 and anticipate no issues, so.
And thank you for the consideration to head back. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care.
And Frank's got my card with my phone number. If something did come up, call me on the way back.
Fantastic.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Take care.
All right, next on the list, I do not see Scott in here, so any questions we have on the consent agenda? We have three things, and actually, Chief Pelton, if I can jump to you. So fire department equipment disposition. I understand we have with our upgrades last year that were long overdue. As we upgraded our equipment, we now have some equipment that we can no longer.
Department, Coopersville, Polkton, that is in dire need of even the air bottles. They have the packs, they've actually had to pull packs off machines, the apparatus, because they didn't have enough bottles. You know, the COVID's hit different jurisdictions differently. I'm not sure why their financial situation is the way it is. What we're asking is to donate some the air packs and some of the face pieces to them, actually the bottles to them. We're asking to sell our RIT 3 packs, which was not part of the grant, to our neighbor to the west of us of Marne, Wright Talmadge Fire Department, because they do have the Scott system and work with their system. The RIT 3 packs wouldn't work with our current MSA G1s, but they'd be able to utilize them. And looking at the market research, the price in those range anywhere from $9 to $9.50 for those types of the RIT 3 packs. Looking at donating at least, I want to say 28 of the usable bottles to the Coopersville Polkton Fire Department and some masks. And then the rest of the equipment hand over to Roger to take up to the UP for a department not known yet, but he's got his feelers out to see who needs the air packs. A lot of them are still good. There's a few of them that want to keep around for us to use for training, so we're not beating up the new ones. Dragging a dummy with an air pack on it, let's use the old stuff that's out of date and unusable. But yet the ones that are usable, we want to donate those to a department up north. And that's what we're asking for tonight.
All right, so Commissioners, I'll quick sum it up and then open up for questions. Basically, with that upgrade, we have old gear we're not able to use anymore. I think
That is correct, yeah.
The key, it does not work with our new, and really right now, it seems like one of the best options would be is to leverage this to a local department, and Coopersville Polkton is part of our mutual aid. So they do come into our city at times, and we go into their city or to the area out there. So that all being said, I'll open up for questions from the group. Comments, dialogue.
I'd just like to say that some of it's being donated, also some of it's being sold, and I think by looking and reading that you've done your homework and your research, and I think it's more than we've ever gotten from any used air packs in the past or anything. So to me, it sounds like a win-win.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any questions, comments? All right, we will take this up. This is actually on the consent agenda, so at the 7 o'clock for approval on it. Any other dialogue? Going once, going twice? I think we'll be good then, Chief.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. All right, engineering contract approval. I do not see Scott back yet, so you're pinch hitting?
Yeah, Scott's at another meeting tonight for a sanitary sewer special assessment district informational meeting. So these are basically the three contracts that Scott touched base with you at the last meeting. 3-year contract, each with Warren Roofing, Spalding, the Decker, and Klein and Newhoff. Same contracts we've had in the past. I'm looking for approval on all three of these. We should be moving forward with the two firms we currently work with, and then Spalding, the Decker, and the third firm. You have to answer any questions on Scott's behalf. Contracts have not changed in scope other than the rates a little bit in the last 6 years. Worked out great. The process is awesome. And thanks again to Commissioner Kemp for participating in the review of the firms.
And for the commissioners to refresh the memories, this is something we discussed at our, I believe it was our last meeting. It discussed the approval of those, and this is the formalization of that. So questions, dialogue, comments on those three firms? Any concerns? All right, we'll be taking that up at 7 o'clock then. All right, so that covers consent agenda. Looking at the rest, consumers energy, any background on that? Daryl, sure, Frank?
This is an amendment to your contract with consumers. You see these several times a year. In this case, there are these two LED cobra-head fixtures that are going off on Northridge at the intersection of Hendershot,
questions, comments from the commission? All right, we're good there. Master plan piece will be the final approval for that, to get rolling on that. Any dialogue or questions on that?
We'll do a presentation.
Right.
Not long, so, but I would like to do a presentation, so if you're going to break from Commissioner Kent, we can do that at 7 o'clock.
Okay, perfect. That's for the invocation. All right. Why don't we do this, then we'll get, it is 10:02. We've got actually about 8 minutes. I'll start to the right with the commissioners and, or our clerk, actually. Any notes from the week?
I'm good.
Okay. Commissioner Gilbert?
I don't think I have anything.
Okay. Commissioner Glanville?
Just one thing I wanted to bring up or check into was, I know, and I had emailed about this, that we had put in place some resolutions or some guidelines for our meetings during the Executive Order for Open Meetings Act. And as I understand it, the legislation, now that it's been passed, we need to review that and create new guidelines, or again, codify those same guidelines, not only for this year, but then into next year. So just wanted to check on where we are with that process, or.
Yeah, working through that with Jeff right now. There's certain standards for the rest of this year.
Yep.
They're pretty much status quo, starting in 2021, we have to adopt the standards, so we're working on refining those right now. So,
Okay, great. Great, thanks for the update, thanks.
I noticed that as I see the camera right over there on the top ledge, it's one of those little things of just being prepared for it, so. Okay.
All right, great, thanks.
All right. Commissioner Groders, nothing? Commissioner Isingale? Commissioner DeShane?
I just wanted to kind of give some kudos to our clerk. I don't know if anyone has saw it, but there is a national ad that has been playing, I think it's Guardians of Democracy, where it spotlights voters and just kind of solidifies the integrity of your vote to make sure that, you know, it's done in a safe manner. And as a commissioner, I thought it was really cool that, you know, it was spotlighted using our city clerk as well as Michigan. And, excuse me, tickle my throat. And also, I just thought that as a resident, it just gave me a little bit more security knowing that my vote was going to be handled with care and integrity and security. And I just thought it was a great nonpartisan ad in this, you know, during this campaigning time. And I just thought it was just a great job, so kudos.
Good stuff. Second that. Commissioner Kent, you got to have something down there. Seriously, come on. All right. All right, I'll jump to our managers. Daryl to the left.
Just quickly, if you haven't seen the front counter, when the gate's been up, we're almost done remodeling out there, so it really turned out nice. We have a few pieces yet we're working on, and then we're going to be following up with some signs out there, so it's a bit more user-friendly, which kind of leads to the bigger question of signing around the whole campus and interior. So that'll be a longer-term project, but short-term, it really turned out nice, and I think everybody's happy with it. It's not quite 100%. Getting there. That's all I have.
Looks great there. And I think it too has the health protections for all, but I think the convenience and the attention to detail for even the ADA access and such has been good. So excited about what I saw back there.
If you haven't seen your mailboxes, they're in that workroom and they're on the top shelf. Try that for a while and see how it goes.
All right.
Can I reach it? Can I reach it?
Mr. Wash.
You've heard enough from me, and you'll hear more from me about the master plan.
And it's not death by PowerPoint, correct?
No,
Okay.
consolidating about 500 pages.
Exactly. All right. Well, good thing. We are at 6:56, 57 almost. You would like to take a little break real quick? Okay. you go
Can
right
I
ahead.
add one more comment?
Sure,
quick?
go on.
I just wanted to congratulate the Community Engagement Committee on the scarecrows. I think there's been a lot of really positive energy around that. And I have to say, I was at Ferndale yesterday turning left into Myers there, you know, and my dog was very concerned about the scarecrow that was on the side of the road. So some of them I think are quite realistic. But it's been fun, and it's just a nice, lighthearted thing to be seeing these days when everything else just feels so, you know, heavy. So thanks for that.
I agree with you.
Well, going by Station 2, I mean, you drive by there, and I'm like, what on earth are they doing climbing up in the tree? You know, so, well, I'm going to give kudos. I mean, that was well done, so.
Yeah, even the oil change place, I thought they did such a cute job too.
Well, and I think just for the fire department, or I'm sorry, community engagement, but then DDA as well, there's just, I think, a
Yeah.
renewed sense of energy with that group on things, so.
It's a lot of fun.
We had a good turnout too, so.
Yes,
10 of
we
them,
had
so.
10 of them, so. All right, and I know they're going to take, we're not to new banners yet, it's my understanding, but that group is looking at more things of getting ready for the winter. I don't think there'll be Christmas lights up this year, but the intent is to have those for next year, so. Cool. All right, well, we're at 6:57, 6:58. Might have hid something this week from Commissioner Kent, so as he can say, there's some family coming in, some distinguished guests. Yeah. See a lot of trouble. I see a lot of stories we might hear about too yet, so. I had nothing to do with this. I had nothing. Yeah. Yes. Well, welcome, everyone. Yeah, it did. That's awesome. Yeah, that's good stuff. Good stuff. It's funny. It's all quiet in here. All right, we'll get started in about another minute here. We're good? I think we're good. So, welcome everyone. We'll call our City Commission meeting to order. What I would like to do here is, obviously the cat's out of the bag. We have a little ceremony for our distinguished commissioner who is leaving us in the month of November, so to our left. So as appropriate, he has the invocation and leading us in Pledge of Allegiance tonight. So Commissioner Kent, the floor is yours.
Oh, boy. Shall we pray? Our Heavenly Father, we pray and give thanks to you as we reflect on all the good and beautiful things we have. We pray for an end to the coronavirus and healing and comfort to those afflicted. We ask thee to watch over our military, police, fire departments, medical personnel, everyone serving and helping others. We thank thee for being able to work with so many great leaders, our mayor, fellow commissioners, city clerk, manager, assistant manager, and employees, all working to protect and serve our constituents. We ask for your guidance in the decisions we make as we strive to make our city a better place to live. Lord, we ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen. If you'd please join and stand with us for Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Kent, Your Honor. So procedurally, if we could, real quick, if I'd ask the clerk to please call the roll for us.
Mayor Carey,
Present?
Commissioner Kent,
Present.
Commissioner Gilbert, Commissioner DeShane,
Present?
Commissioner Groders,
Present?
Commissioner Glanville,
Present.
and Commissioner Heisinger.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you all. So, because this is not a resolution, a voting item, we're actually going to deviate a little bit. We have some recognition. some distinguished guests in the front row. So first, Congressman Huizenga and Todd Whiteman, his field director in the West Michigan office. So welcome. Good to see you back. Saw you early this morning on another meeting. So all good. So welcome.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioner. Good to see you, and congratulations. This is not always something that's understood by even family, much less friends and neighbors, the work that goes into this. And I know, because I watched my own dad serve over 30 years on the Zeeland City Council and did a term in the county commission as well. And I know truthfully that job up there is just as much of a full contact sport as anything I go through in Washington, D.C., or these guys go through in Lansing. And because you have to face somebody in the grocery store or at church or on your block or whatever it might be all the time in what you do. And your dedication to the city is to be commended. And that's frankly why we're here, is to say thank you and recognize you and to say job well done. So I have for you something that is now printed, part of the congressional record. And this is dated October 26th. And I say in this, I rise today to recognize the exemplary career of Dan Kent, a pivotal member of the West Michigan community. I would like to express my appreciation to Commissioner Kent for over 20 years of service as a city commissioner to the city of Walker. Commissioner Kent's distinguished career serving in the city of Walker dates to 1999. Excuse me. Since that time, Commissioner Kent has dutifully worked to improve the city's infrastructure, economy, and overall aesthetic to exemplary ways. His work manifests itself throughout Walker, and his efforts to promote a safe and family-friendly community speak for itself. Outside of work, Commissioner Kent is a dedicated husband of 46 years to his wife, Carol, a proud father of 3 adult children, and a loving grandfather to 4. He serves as a member of St. Peter and Paul Parish and as chairperson of Christian Services. Because of the faithful hard work, sacrifice, and dedication of community members such as Dan Kent, I'm especially proud to serve Michigan's 2nd Congressional District. Madam Speaker, I'd like to again formally congratulate Commissioner Kent on this well-deserved retirement. Sir, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Congressman. Appreciate that. And what we'll do is we'll
We'll
go
give this
through each of the recognitions here, and then we'll take a quick recess. And I believe Nicole has some cupcakes, some water around the corner for us as well. So we'll get to that momentarily. So we also have our state senator and state representative, Pete McGregor and Mark Huizenga. Thank you both again for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and Dan Kent, thank you for your service. As I was reflecting upon this evening, I thought way back to 2006 when I got on the Planning Commission, and every once in a while we'd have joint sessions, and there was Dan Kent. Later on, I became a commissioner, and instead of looking up, I looked across, and we were colleagues. And then later yet, I became mayor, and we were still colleagues. We didn't always agree on everything, but you were a consummate professional. You were always the one that would bend my ear to tell me, here's my perspective. And I can say this in front of everybody, we always got along. We didn't always agree, but we got along. And that means a lot. And that probably is one of the reasons why you have such longevity. And so I want to say congratulations to you on a momentous career in municipal service. Just like the Congressman said, it's the comments you get when you're at Meyer pumping gas or in any grocery store. We've all had that experience, and so thank you for that. To that end, we have a special tribute that's been prepared, and I'll read it to you. Special tribute to Dan Kent. Let it be known that it is with deep appreciation for the hard work, dedication, and professionalism that Dan Kent has put forth on behalf of the people of Walker that we offer this expression of our thanks and best wishes in retirement from the City Commission. As the people of Walker recognize the loyalty and devotion to public service of this conscientious individual, we add our sentiments of gratitude for a job well done. In his almost 35 years of service to the people of Walker and over 45 years to a broader Kent County area, Dan Kent has been working in the public arena during an era of great change. As Dan well knows, financial pressures from changing expectations have combined to make recent past challenging time a time to work in local government. And with a personal sense of duty that Dan has brought to his roles as a paid-on-call firefighter on the city and the county road commission, as well as the Walker City Commission, he has been able to meet this challenge with enthusiasm and genuine interest in efficiency. This has been deeply appreciated by both citizens and organizations in Walker that have benefited directly from Dan's work, as well as other public servants who have been witness to this fine example. There can be little doubt that the record of Dan Kent and his responsibilities as a Walker City Commissioner over the past 20 years will continue to reap rewards for the people of his community. Additionally, his career's impact on Kent County at large will be felt from years to come. We offer our thanks and well wishes on this personal milestone and for all his future endeavors. In special tribute, therefore, this document is signed and dedicated to join with the citizens of Walker in saluting Dan Kent in acknowledgement of his retirement as a City of Walker Commissioner of the First Ward, and for many decades for public service. Signed by myself, Mark Huizinga, and Senator Peter McGregor. I don't have the framed copy due to some illness and logistics, but we will make sure we get that for you as soon as possible as well. So again, thank you, and wish you the best in all that you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, Commissioner, it's heavy heart for this to be the beginning of an end, because it's just a new chapter in your life. And I know when it's you have to leave something that you love, it is very difficult. But our paths crossed so many times over the past 20 years, whether as a township supervisor, road commission, and now as a state senator for the Walker area, the city of Walker. I'm sure we'll be crossing paths even more often now that we'll both be a little bit around more often. So, well, at least I'm knocking that I'll be around more often. But thank you for your service. And I really, really appreciate everything you've done for this area and in this city. Thank you.
Thank you both. You still surprised? I got you good. I mean, this is good. All right, so I've got a little tribute I'm going to read here in a second as well. And then after that, I know Chief Long wanted to share a couple of words. And then I'm going to end up, I think, very appropriately with Chief Pelton. When we think back to your home started December 21, 1985 in the fire department, officially. So I think as you started with them, I think they should have the Chief Pelton and the crew should have the last comments would be appropriate. So I'm definitely not going to let the family get up there because Carol will tell us too many things, right? So I'll read my piece here. This proclamation recognizes Dan Kent as he ends his 20-year term as a Walker City Commissioner. This includes his role as a City Commissioner for the last 20 years and as a firefighter for the 15 years prior. Commissioner Kent represented our city's constituents with the highest standards and always responding to citizens and businesses politely and promptly, never forgetting the value of their comments and concerns. Commissioner Kent could always be counted on for his leadership and financial stewardship, I had to word that one carefully, and unwavering support for public safety amongst his many other accomplishments, all of which have left the city of Walker better than when he started. And I think that's what it's all about. Commissioner Kent placed service above oneself when acting his role as an elected official. His true north and moral compass guided him in doing the right thing for our residents and businesses and can serve as that high standard for us all. And then I have all the legal language there. So thank you for your 35 years of service. On behalf of the city, we have a nice plaque. We also have a nice glass piece here that we'll share in just a minute. So with that, Chief Long.
Who said Commissioner, well, my comments are going to be very unofficial. There's no proclamation. I want to talk to you from personal and from the heart and just say thank you for your years of service. I go back into the late 80s where we sat around that big table at Station 3 drinking coffee on Sunday mornings, fixing the world's problems. more importantly, fixing Walker's problems, right? So we talked about a lot of things, but at that time, you had the passion, you had the compassion to take care of the people. You always had an emphasis on making sure that the public safety officers, both in police and fire, were prioritized, which is very important. We appreciate that. But most importantly, we also appreciate the fact, or I appreciate the fact, that you're willing to listen, but tell it like it is. And that's what we need to hear. So from the police department, from me personally, I want to say thank you and Godspeed in your next chapter. Thanks.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Chief Pelton, I'll let you bring us home.
"1985. I was still in high school at the time. Taking coffee to the firefighters at a scene. It's a long road, 15 years as a firefighter. Very few can understand and appreciate what that means back in 1985. Back with 3/4 boots and long rubber coats, responding to calls, no matter what time of day or night, or how cold the temperatures are that day, or that evening. You know, we really appreciate your dedicated service, not only the 15 years with our department, and again, solving the world problems at that picnic table. That table's still there, solving the world's problems. I think that's where I first met you back in 2001, was around that table having coffee with fellow firefighters at the time. You've been inspirational, not only as a firefighter, but when you hung up your fire boots back in '99 and put on your political shoes, you've done great things in serving our community, and we're very appreciative. With that, we got you a plaque. Thank you from our fire department to you. To Dan Kent, from 1985 to 2020, recognition of your 35 years of service to the city of Walker. The members of the Walker Fire Department, thank you for your commitment, dedication, and service to our community. Thank you, sir. And with that, I got one more person that's got something else for you.
Thank you. Oh, yeah.
I'm not hearing any uh-ohs.
I'm thinking this is, I'm thinking this is the one you need to be worried about.
Actually, I have to go present this to Dan personally. He's probably going to get a little kick out of this. There's a little story behind it. Those look familiar? Some of you are going to wish we had those that you guys had a long time ago. The reason I'm standing here is because of that man right there. Our sons went to grade school together, and I had recently changed jobs from working during the daytime for Meyer in Lansing to a nighttime job in the warehouse here in Grand Rapids. We were at a sports banquet for our sons. I was lamenting to Dan how I needed to find something to do because I got 2 kids in school and a wife working full time. And he said, you should get on the fire department. They need daytime help all the time. Of course, my immediate response was, why would I want to do that? But I guess I'm the example of sometimes opportunities are put in front of you that you don't realize at the time. Down the road, you look back and you think, yeah, it's a good thing we were at that sports banquet together. So I got on the department thanks to Dan. The bag of fireballs that I just handed them, after a period of time, it came to be where when we, especially us guys from Station 3, when we would be at trainings, especially classroom type trainings, when one of us or the rest of the group felt like one of us was starting to yap a little too much, he would get fireball jawbreakers tossed to him as a reminder of put that thing in your mouth and shut the hell up. Like I say, some of you up there are probably thinking, why haven't we had these over all these years? So that's the reason for the bag of jawbreakers. But on a personal note, I just wanted to thank Dan, obviously, for me standing here. But secondly, it didn't take long to figure out when you first got to know Dan and you would see him questioning things from authority coming down from the top, and you would think, man, he's just being a real pain in the butt to the chief. But after a while, you would realize he wasn't just doing his own personal grievances. He was trying to make things better for all the guys on the fire department. And he carried that through once he got off the fire department, coming on to the city commission. I believe I'm right in saying you're one of the last unlimited commissioners to be termed out. Am I correct on that one? So I would say I'm kind of a middle of the road guy on that whole term limit thing. I would say Dan is probably the argument for not having term limits because of his idea of we need to make sure that we're doing things for the greater good for the host city, not just for our own personal agendas. So I think he set a fine example of that, and he has actually passed that example down to his children. He's got one son serving in the military, another one that serves with the Kent County Sheriff's Department, and his daughter is a teacher, all in jobs of service. And that's obviously something that they gained from their dad. So that greater good, I think, has served us all well. It has served you well. And from all the old timers at Station 3, of which there's only a few of us left, thank you from all the guys on the fire department. Thanks for your service. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil, much appreciated. Well, what we'll do here is probably procedurally, let's look for a motion, take a quick recess. I think probably I know Carol, the family would love to get some pictures down here with some of these, some of the gratitude stuff, some of the stuff that's framed here. And yeah, again, can't say thank you enough for all that you've done. And I think as I look to my left on Monday nights, I know what we have down there. It's that solid bellwether. But I think even more so, I think just the decisions that you've made over the years have always been in the best interest of the city. So thank you again. I maybe ask the room, maybe it's worthy of a standing round of applause for you. And then we'll, before we do that, a quick recess. Do I have a motion to take a recess?
Motion to take recess?
Thank you, Commissioner Gilbert.
Second.
Support. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Thanks, Frank. As Frank mentioned, we tried to get into this mixed-use idea at various levels in the plan. So as you go through the community character areas, and as Frank alluded to, the community character areas flow up into future land use. So there's future land use categories, and then within them, there are multiple community character categories. With the idea being the future land use gives you the broad idea of what kind of uses you might see, and the community character gets into more detail in terms of design, but also in terms of where mixed use may become appropriate, and what kind of mixed use may become appropriate. For instance, the sort of basic mixed use idea of, we got retail on the first floor, residential above, or office above. We have places for that. But there are other mixed use ideas as well. In many of our sort of residential areas, you have a thoroughfare connecting the residential areas, right? We don't want those all to turn into Lake Michigan Drive, obviously. They're not all going, or Alpine, right? They're not all going to be commercial strips. That doesn't mean that there isn't an appropriate place for a small amount of commercial, and that's called out on the maps, and called out in some of the very specific, neighborhood level planning. And that also doesn't mean that there aren't other non-residential uses may be appropriate, religious institutions, schools, that kind of thing, that can line those corridors between neighborhoods. So that type of mixed use is also explored. And then the last type is kind of a type of mixed use, but that's mixing residential unit types in various ways, and separating the idea of residential density from residential type, right? So if you take a single-family house and then you put it on a tiny lot and build hundreds of more around it, that's relatively high density, right? If you take an apartment building and surround it with woods, that can be relatively low density. So talking about density and type separately so that they can be mixed and matched in different ways that are appropriate for a given site, or put together in the same development, right? Different housing types in the same development allows for different price points, allows for, makes it easier for the developer to get financing, and can generally be positive for the community. So the plan envisions that as well, and that's sort of another form of mixed use.
That leads to the next slide, which is why we identified this significant undeveloped lots or land in the city. These are the major sites where you will probably see development come in over the next 20 years. Some of them are already in play. English Hills is one that has already held a series of community meetings between the potential developer and the neighbors. So some of your master plans are already starting And this has certainly been a team effort. It really started back in '05 with all these subplans, and then we kicked off the overall planning effort. Had to reset that. We're fortunate to get Chris and his teams on board. And, we're confident that we've taken this one into detail as far as we can. And we offer a few folks upon consideration. Frank?
Commissioners, comments, questions?
Yeah, of course, but, no, I think right from the beginning, Frank, you know, your insight on, to us, what was going on, it's time for a change and everything, and, I think you and Daryl both were planners before you started, or before you were here, so, or at this, level, and, I think between the two of you, you know, you've led this to, especially you, to a great thing. I think it's, I really like it, and I think it's, well worth the time and effort, and thanks to McKenna also for,
Thank you.
for their input, so. And these explanations, for some of us, make it a whole lot easier. Appreciate it. Thank you.
I'll make a quick comment. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Frank. Thank you, everyone at City Hall, for all your work on this. It's been a labor of love, and a lot of time and energy has gone into it, but I think we've come out with a great product. Not everything exactly as I'd love to see it, but I think it's a product of collaboration, and I think all that's been done has finally come to be in a way that we can all be very proud of the product. So thank you both very much, and I'm excited to have this on the books.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to add my thanks to the pile here. I'm really excited about some of the changes that were made. I know, it can be difficult to mesh tradition with a future vision, and I think we did a nice job in knowing that we might be able to amend that going forward so that it can even more tightly align with people as our community grows. I think is just fantastic, and I'm really pleased to see what we're doing with some of the mixed-use development and the density, which will, I think, help Walker become stay really a very sort of picturesque place, right? It's not going to get run over by concrete, so, which is something I think we all pride a little bit is, the ridge and the agriculture that's around us and the natural landscape we have. So I'm glad that we're able to retain some of that. And I really appreciate the work and the thought that went into it and the creativity to bring it together.
Thank you.
I guess I would also like to say thank you to both of you. Frank in particular, I really appreciate your willingness to listen. I think you really did listen to the residents, and I really appreciate that.
I'll say the same thing. I really thought the community events that we had to come up with all different types of concepts were very invaluable to everybody. And again, it's not always easy to do this because you have a ton of different people with a ton of different ideas, and some don't want growth and some do. And I think this is a great end product. I think you did a good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to piggyback on what everyone was saying, I think the collaboration that occurred between all the sessions that we had with the public and from the internal really created a great plan moving forward.
Thanks.
Make the motion?
Thank you, Commissioner Gilbert.
Support.
Support Commissioner Glanville. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Resolution 10-576.
Thank you, commissioners. It's been an honor and a pleasure working with you all. We'll be in touch on final bound documents, Frank. Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. All right, next on the list is any public comment?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Don Anderson. I'm not a resident of Walker, but I work at 8663 3 Mile Road. Our office has been there since 1994, David Anderson Associates, and we were interested in the proposed extension of 3 Mile Road to West River Drive. We think that would be a great opportunity to open up that corridor to, especially since we're right there at the corner of Alpine and 3 Mile, to open up visibility for our office. Especially since we're thinking of actually relocating to 701 3 Mile Road, which is just across Alpine. And we'd like to know if there's anything to be kept informed as far as any timing of that proposed extension or any zoning changes that might be involved. Thank you.
So I won't steal the stage here if you'd like to share your thoughts.
Yeah, I can do that. I think Commissioner Kent and myself have been in enough rooms having this conversation enough times that we know a lot about it, and it's something that I think there's a lot of times where we'll have conversations with folks in the area and they'll say we need to do something about congestion on Alpine, and that's kind of one of the intuitive solutions to that problem. It's something that we talk about a lot. I think the barriers to that connection are obviously the cost of that connection. I think long-term, we would love to keep the idea in play. I just think it's hard to envision when the financing will connect to make that come to be. So I guess I would say in the short term, I don't see the roadmap for that to be a connection that's made, but long-term, I would like to think that we will at some point come to a point where we can make that happen. And I've got lots of ideas if you ever want to get into the details of it on how we can do it, but it's certainly something that's talked about a lot, especially when we get into the busy season on Alpine Avenue and we see the traffic really congested in that area.
No, it's well said, Steve. We've looked at it and,
Yeah, he's eating a fireball right now.
we've tried and, there's a lot of pros and cons and really comes down to cost. And so maybe in the future, but I wouldn't promise it. But we've been there and looked at it and kicked it around many a times.
Sorry, if I could, on behalf of the commission, Commissioner Gilbert, I know is extremely well-versed, even though Commissioner Kent is moving on. Commissioner Gilbert's pretty well up to speed on this. Let's maintain dialogue amongst us and making sure that we're not losing visibility to this. I do agree. I think as we have looked at it over time, it has been a true cost factor of making that connection between land acquisition. It's not even just the construction, but it's the land acquisition to get down in there. I think there was an understanding of some challenges that we had up in that area. So let's continue to have dialogue to make sure we maintain its visibility. And if we can get everything to align, then I don't think there's any argument that it would be very nice to have from this group. Now it just becomes to that financial investment that's going to have to be made is where do you pull that from then? So is that fair enough that we'll maintain that open dialogue? And if I could ask Commissioner Gilbert, just because of your knowledge base on this, if you'll take the lead on this, we'll make sure to stay connected. So, and thank you for being a business owner in Walker and keeping the business here. So we're happy to have you. Awesome. Thank you. All right, seeing nobody else in the public, Chief, you want nothing? You're good. All right. All right, I'll open up real quick before we adjourn. Managers, commissioners, anything else? We've gone through comments, I know that.
If I can make a brief statement here. I know that the recognition group for Commissioner Kent has come and gone, but I did want to make some brief comments just with my experience serving with Commissioner Kent. If that's all right, Mr. Mayor?
Definitely. Let's go.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and fellow members of the commission for giving me the floor for just a moment to offer some insight into the time that I've been fortunate enough to spend serving with Commissioner Kent and having him as a colleague and friend. Having worked in a government for over half a decade now, I've had the pleasure of meeting many great people, friends, and colleagues. Through all those I have met, Dan Kent stands out as a symbol of true character, someone who's willing to plant his 2 feet, believe in what he is doing, and do so the right way. It's easy to see that Commissioner Kent and I are very different, but he's someone I feel I've been able to build a real connection with over our time serving the First Ward together. Commissioner Kent and I have lived very different lives and have gained very different experience, but we both know and love our community, and it's always been to the benefit of the people of our First Ward. When asked, I always say that Dan Kent and I are a great complement to one another in serving you. Commissioner Kent has always had so much experience to offer and been able to bring the things that you learn through the journey of life, and I try my best to provide the technical details to fill in any gaps. I don't think that you could ask for a better partner than the one I've had for the past 3 years in Walker's First Ward. As a commissioner, Dan Kent has been incredibly diligent and dedicated in his work on behalf of the people of Walker. He has such a deep knowledge about the things the city has done and how it's led us to where we are, and his leaving is going to leave a tremendous impact on what we do moving forward. I hope to continue to seek his counsel as he leaves office, but the city will miss having it firsthand. All this to say, Dan Kent has done an incredible service to our community, and the city of Walker owes him a great debt for 2 decades of distinguished service. Serving with Commissioner Kent in such a divisive time in politics has reminded me of a time not so long ago when we could disagree openly and fiercely, but continue to respect one another and work together knowing that the work was toward the common goal of improving our communities. So Commissioner Kent, thank you for all you have done for this city, for the First Ward, for my family who lives there, and for me. You've served as a model of what I believe local government should be. We will miss you here, and the legacy you leave behind is one of integrity, dedication, and honor in public service.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I've told many people that if you got any questions, see Steve, because he's learned a lot in Lansing and knows a lot more than I do about things, and brings a lot to the city and a lot to the commission. And I've learned a lot from you. And that's been really appreciated, and I've enjoyed working with you. And thank you much for the kind words, and I'm going to miss this, but we'll move on, and I'm just going to ask Sarah to keep sending me the minutes. Or the
Agenda packet.
The
I can do
bills.
that.
The bills.
Yeah, the bills.
Review of the
There you
bills.
go.
Yeah, why don't you-
We will always send you the agenda packet.
Yeah, but anyways. Yeah. So, all right. Thank you much, Steve. Appreciate it.
For the record, we're not done with you yet. We got a little bit of time left, so. All right.
Speaking on that,
Yes.
if I can just announce, if everybody doesn't realize, but after the election, November 9th will be this city commission as we stand. And then I have asked the judge to be present for the November 23rd meeting. And I'm not sure how we're going to do it, but maybe we'd swear in at the beginning of the November 23rd meeting. Dan asked if he would start it or not start it, so we have to discuss.
Yeah. Let's, we'll button that up procedurally with the attorney, so. Make sure we have everything, T's crossed, I's dotted, so.
That's it.
Fair enough. All right. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn us then. Commissioner Kent, would you like to have the honor?
So move.
Thank you. Support?
Support.
Support, Commissioner Shane. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those